Oh right, Deadpool and Wolverine is coming out, so I might as well review this trash. Welcome to X-Men Origins Wolverine. With the X-Men trilogy concluded, the X-Men films needed somewhere to go after this. And considering that Logan was effectively the main character for the X-Men trilogy, it only made sense to focus on him for this new era of X-Men films, which would be exploring basically the origin stories of major characters and possibly some new ones. And considering how many of you know that there is no such thing as an X-Men Origins Storm or an X-Men Origins Magneto or an X-Men Origins Professor X, you know this movie did terribly. I mean, for one, Dude Peel over here exists. Let's just get this over with. We open with Canada in 1845. I will admit that this is a strong scene. Seriously, what's with the bad X-Men films having child actors in relatively early scenes give pretty powerful performances that make you disappointed that they weren't in a better movie? Anyways, the groundskeeper seemingly kills Logan's dad. So the death of his father basically makes him so stressed out that he begins manifesting his mutant power. Then the bad direction comes in. This dramatic skyward scene really does this child actor no favors. But hey, at least he knows how to project his voice now when he eventually ends up becoming a singer. Seriously. The groundskeeper is actually revealed to be Logan's real father, not the person he just killed, he being the groundskeeper. We then see Victor Creed, who will eventually grow up to become the villain Sabretooth, and the two run away together. Then we get a sequence where Logan and Victor proceed to fight their way through every single American war. I will say this, Logan Through Time is an epic soundtrack. Seeing him go through time with this soundtrack blaring in the background makes this movie mildly more bearable. The title sequence is honestly has no right to be this good, though I do have one issue with this, but it's really petty. In What If, there is a universe where Captain America liberated Magneto from the concentration camp. Later in X-Men Grand Design, we see another AU where Logan and Captain America work to liberate Magneto from a concentration camp. It's not like this is obscure or anything. A more mainstream source for this would be X-Men Evolution. They call it a POW camp, but let's be honest, it's a concentration camp. They meet someone named Eric Lensher in those camps who can control metal. Would be cool to see this on the big screen, and honestly would help redefine the relationship between Magneto and Logan. So, back to the movie. After getting executed and surviving during the Vietnam War era, William Stryker offers to let them out. He's putting together a team. And this is where we run into our first problem. Have you ever turned over one page in the book, but the pages were stuck together, so you accidentally turned over more than one page and started reading and are like, what the hell? Did I miss something? And then you realize you did? That's how I feel about this film. When you're making a prequel film, you need to answer the question how these things came to be. Honestly, it would be more interesting seeing Logan go through the Civil War and the World Wars, and then this at the climax. For crying out loud, we really do not see the bond between Logan and Victor at all. Remember that line in X-Men 2 where Stryker says, "You were always an animal, Wolverine, I just gave you the claws"? Well, would be nice if he was actually always an animal and actually partook in these atrocities, such as, well, stealing a rock from this one warlord, and then, well, this entire village who has the rest of the adamantium. Also, Marvel lore fans would be here like, what? A basically indestructible rock that can be refined into a basically indestructible metal, and it comes out of Africa? That's vibranium. Yeah, adamantium in this film is basically vibranium, except adamantium doesn't have the fun lore behind it. Adamantium, as far as I recall, is just a synthetic project that's made out of steel, other metals, and a super resin. It's not like, hey, space meteor came, space meteor brought mutations, and we built a culture around it. This is our first turning point in the movie, and it's a problem. You see, Logan choosing to restrain Victor should feel a lot stronger than it is. This is where Logan quits Team X. But we've only seen like 2 missions with Team X, and we barely know Logan as a character, and we barely know Victor as a character. This moment is hollow as hell. You can't exactly have a turning point without a foundation. We really never got to see how being nearly 200 years has affected the both of them. How are the people they've bonded with? Do they even believe in making bonds with anyone but each other because, well, they're immortal and they'll long outlive their spouses and their friends? Why is Logan not bloodthirsty while Victor is ready to rip people apart? Is that part of his inherent nature, or did something happen to him to make him this bloodthirsty? It's a constant problem with this film. It introduces characters, it introduces concepts, yet it refuses to give them any time and focus needed to make them actually work. Let's take our next character, Kayla Silverfox. This is Logan's lover. We know nothing about her. In the comics, Silverfox is someone with a healing factor. She would be one of the few people Logan can worry about not dying, mainly because she's just like him. Oh, and she's also a spy and agent of Hydra. Man, if we established this relationship more, we could have had something interesting. She's introduced, we get a few scenes, she dies. Keep that last word in air quotes. Yeah, he finds Sabretooth, who killed her, and then we get an action scene in the dark with shoddy cinematography and shoddy lighting. Look, just because it takes place in the dark doesn't mean you can't light your scene properly. And after Logan loses his fight to a bunch of logs, he gets an offer from Stryker. Adamantium skeleton to beat Sabretooth. One uncanny valley scene after the breakout later, we get to Agent Zero and the Weapon X program managing to find Logan with the old couple. We get another shoddy fight scene, because if this film needed anything, it would be more shoddy fight scenes. Agent Zero is killed by Wolverine. Why do I bring this up? Because Agent Zero has been barely a blip on my radar? It's because Agent Zero is played by David Henney. This is the same David Henney who plays Tadashi Hamada. I can only assume Agent Zero got isekai'd into becoming Tadashi Hamada, who would also die in a fiery explosion. Anyways, I find the scene of Logan killing Agent Zero to be framed rather incorrectly. You see, Agent Zero taunted Logan about the people around Logan who he cares about dying. This sets off Logan, who lights the fuel on fire to kill Agent Zero and destroy that helicopter. The problem is that it doesn't really feel triumphant, yet the hero walking away from an explosion is a triumphant shot. It's not deconstructing the concept or anything, it just feels weird. It doesn't feel like a shut-up villain, it feels more spiteful, and honestly should be framed as more spiteful and somber. Anyways, Logan hunts down the remainders of Team X to find out where Stryker and Victor are. After beating information out of the Blob, quite literally, we learn Stryker's scheme. Let's kidnap a bunch of mutants, including a young Cyclops. So Logan needs to find where this mysterious island is. Well, he's going to go do some sneaking around, maybe pretending to be one of Stryker's soldiers. Or we can just go to Gambit. Yeah, Gambit actually was imprisoned by Stryker for 2 years. After Sabretooth, who was present to collect the DNA of another mutant, Wolverine and Gambit end up fighting because Wolverine needs to shake down Gambit for a means of transportation. Kayla Silverfox is revealed to be alive and well. She faked her death. And apparently Logan didn't notice that she wasn't stabbed and the fake blood was, fake blood. Doesn't he have heightened senses in this film, or is that something they cut? But either way, you'd really expect that amount of fake blood to actually make a smell or something that doesn't really smell like blood. Anyways, Kayla is revealed to be alive, and her sister Emma is being held hostage by William Stryker. And despite the fact that Emma can turn into diamonds, yeah, she's not Emma Frost. Emma Frost is a completely different character. She's just Emma Silverfox, which apparently that makes it less confusing. Oh, and Kayla's a mutant whose powers means that she can influence memories and emotions to anyone she touches. Geez, this could have been an interesting plot point on whether her and Logan's love was real or fake, but that requires actually developing these characters and developing these moments. Logan basically walks away, defeated, and then he gets a heroic second wind, because physics. Oh, and Sabretooth betrayed his brother because he wanted an adamantium skeleton. Yay, character motivations. Why? Yeah, heroic second win. Logan frees a bunch of cameos. We see what happens next. I'm talking about the most infamous sequence, the Weapons 11, or Weapons XI sequence. This was this film's incarnation of Deadpool. Get it? because a bunch of dead mutants got their powers pooled into a single body. So, Dude Peel has full swords in his arms. I usually don't question things because this is comic books, and I have a suspension of disbelief, but I really do have to question this movie's internal logic with putting an arm's length katana in his, arm, because he would need to bend those arms, but those katanas are made out of adamantium, so wouldn't he just not be able to bend it, or when he bends it, it just makes the sword stick out of his elbows? I mean, at least with Logan's claws, you can argue that they are stored in the forearms, and when he makes a fist, they just slide down by muscle movements. But this is just dumb. 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 It hurts. Sabretooth teams up with Logan because only Sabretooth has the privilege of killing Logan. Jeez, I wonder when they're going to capitalize on this again. And then we get the decapitation of Dude Peel. Then we get the 2 adamantium bullets, and at this point I'm just wanting this movie to end. Kayla commands Stryker, rather than bite his own bullets, to walk until his feet bleed and then walk some more. Yeah, she's dying because, the plot. And of course, we need Stryker for X-Men 2, but honestly, I think she should have just saved us a lot of trouble by just executing Stryker with his own bullets here. Oh, and Patrick Stewart, Professor X, takes away the mutants. Geez, I wonder why Logan never ever brought up the fact that his last memories were, yeah, I woke up on an island with a nuclear power plant on this specific day. Maybe he doesn't remember the day. And then maybe Professor X can go, this guy looks like he was on the same island as I was. Same nuclear power plant when I was rescuing all those mutants. Why did I not put 2 and 2 together? I mean, for Logan, I can sort of understand, but Professor X, really? You didn't see his last known memory before, first known memory because he lost all of them? Anyways, the freaking end. Based on my lack of enthusiasm and the fact that I want to get through this movie as quickly as possible, I think you can tell that I think that this movie is an absolute mess. Let's talk about the story for a minute here. It's less of a cohesive narrative with arcs and character conflict and escalation of tension and the like, and more like a bunch of montages and fight scenes with little substance to them. Because of this mentality, it leads to some major problems with the characters and their motivations. Sabretooth selling out his brother over an adamantium skeleton. Oh no, it's not because Logan got the adamantium skeleton, it's because Sabretooth wanted an adamantium skeleton. This plot point is never developed. In fact, it's treated like a plot twist. Hell, I wouldn't even say it's treated like a plot twist. It's treated more like, oh, we writers need to actually give him his motivation because he betrayed his own brother. Rather than do any sensible motivation, he apparently wanted adamantium in his bones. Okay, what? Like, seriously? Any other motivation would have worked. You ran away with Logan. You went through hellish war after hellish war with him by your side. And you betrayed him because you wanted an adamantium skeleton. What's funny is that there could have been a decently good conflict set up between him and Logan. After all, Sabretooth is the more bloodthirsty and animalistic of the two. That honestly would be a better conflict. Hell, tie this into the adamantium if you wish. Sabretooth wants to be an invincible killer, seeking to become this apex predator. Certainly makes more sense than, oh, I just want adamantium in my bones and I will throw away my own brother. Hell, make him be some kind of bloodthirsty warrior who wants to seek out the ultimate challenge before dying. I mean, do something more with Sabretooth other than this. I mean, even his whole sentiment towards his brother, saying, only I get to kill you. Tie that into an apex predator bit, or wanting to be an invincible killer bit. Just do that. I don't understand why they didn't. Kayla Silverfox. She is a prop. Wouldn't it be cool if she actually manipulated her relationship with Logan like I said? Imagine how that would break a person, and that would be a great psychological thriller and horror material right there if played correctly. But no, she is barely a blip on the radar. Honestly, I don't think the twist of her actually being alive is needed. I think you can cut her final act out and then just leave it that way. That's just how unimportant she is. Hell, you could even cut out her whole influencing Stryker bits. You could literally replace Stryker with Jason influencing him, and nothing would change. Team X is, as a whole, underdeveloped. Stryker is also another character who got the short end of the stick. Besides just killing some officer to cover up his crimes and being brutal, he's not that much of a character despite being the big bad of this whole film. He's not a character that you should despise so much that the mere fact he got away makes you angry. He's barely a blip on the radar here. His son makes an appearance here, and honestly, I was just like, oh, look, that's familiar, rather than, this is legitimately heinous, how could you do this to your own son? Like I said, this movie is just a bunch of action set pieces and montages with no substance, which makes for a very disjointed film. On a technical level, who edited this movie? It's cartoony, and not the way that comic book movies are meant to be cartoony. It's an uncanny valley level of cartoony. Fight scenes are unbearable to watch because how the camera work is just awful. It feels like they slapped a camera on a drunken fraternity during a hazing and then had them run around at times, and then they just edited the footage together. I also question why they decided to have certain fight scenes like Wolverine losing to Sabretooth in the dark. It's so weird, the creative choices that they took with this. I mean, just because a scene is in the dark does not mean you have to make it so dark that it is hard to actually see. So, what was the experience like watching this film? My overall experience was made better by watching this with my brother and making snarky commentary about the whole ordeal. And on the moral and thematic level, this includes music. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Come closer. This story is that whoever paid for this got profoundly ripped off. I think this is one of the few movies where all the Fox X-Men fans and haters alike agree that this movie is awful, which is saying something. Please consider liking, subscribing, tipping this channel on Ko-fi. This is Cyril signing off.